everyone, I'm Crystal Beaulieu, and this is Crystal Clean Eating, where I show you how to cut, prepare, and store fruits and vegetables that will get you on your way to eating a healthy plant-based diet. Today is all about apples, and I cannot wait to show you how to make homemade applesauce. So while it is easy to prepare, there's only 3 ingredients. There is something that's very crucial to getting that perfect applesauce texture, and that's called a food mill. It's worth the investment. This one was $30. And you can use it for other things like potatoes or squash or anything like that. And there are 3 different discs. This one is really fine, this one's really coarse. The one I'm using today is right in the middle, in that sweet spot, to get that perfect applesauce texture. So I'm going to talk a little bit about these apples here. I have, this is a Honeycrisp apple. This is by far my favorite apple. I eat it raw, I cut it up, or just eat it like this. It's the perfect balance of sweet and sour, and the texture is perfectly crisp, and it even almost feels cold even if it's not cold. I love these apples. They are very expensive, so I wouldn't suggest using it for applesauce. By the time you fill up a crock pot this size with Honeycrisp apples, you're going to be spending like $50 to $100 on it, and we don't need that great of applesauce because you're going to end up adding sugar to it anyway. You're changing the texture, so it really doesn't matter if you're having that perfect Honeycrisp apple in there. This is a Red Delicious. They're very common. You see them in the grocery store. They're usually the ones on sale. They're not good for applesauce. They're very mealy, and the taste isn't pungent enough to get that applesauce, that really good applesauce flavor. These 2 are Cortland and McIntosh. These are the ones I chose today. This one's very sour, this one's very sweet, so I figured together they would make the perfect flavor and texture. So I'll just show you how to cut up an apple using your hand. You know, there's all kinds of gadgets that you can use that help you to peel them and core them and whatnot. I kind of like to just sit there and peel them by hand. My kids will sit on the counter and we'll just talk, and I'll peel and core the apples myself. Using the peels, you can, on your oven, you can put it on 225 or 250 and cook them for a couple hours, and they'll make really good apple chips too. So all the parts of the apple can be used. So once you've peeled it, go ahead and cut it in half, and cut it in half again. And then using your big vegetable knife, you want to just put this on an angle and sort of cut down this way to cut all the seeds out of there. I'll do it again on this one. Then you're going to cut it in half again, so that you have chunks about this size. Now, it's not really a big deal if you don't get every single seed and every single piece of skin off of there, because one, you're going to cook it down in the crock pot, and that's going to separate it a little bit. Then when you put it in the food mill, you'll see in a few minutes as you crank this arm, it's going to separate it furthermore. So chunks about this size, kind of get most of the seeds and skin off as you can, and then toss them in here. So once you've cut up all your apples, you're going to want to throw in a half a cup of sugar. I use brown sugar, and I'll explain why in a minute, and a half a cup of water. Now, there's really no science to half a cup of sugar. It's all depending on your taste. If you like it really sweet, add more, obviously. I just use a half a cup of sugar because it's easy to remember, because I also use a half a cup of water. That is important because in the crock pot, you need at least a layer on the bottom of water to keep those apples cooking. So half a cup of sugar, half a cup of water. The 3 different types of sugar that you mostly see in the grocery store are like the white refined sugar, brown sugar, and then organic raw cane sugar. They all come from the same plant. It's just the syrup that comes from the cane plant. And as they cook it down, they just take the residue that's left over, and that's the granules of sugar that you're eating. This has been processed longer. Brown sugar has been processed just like the white cane sugar, except they add the molasses back to it. The molasses is all of the good nutrients that were taken out when it was cooked down. They add it back to it. It gives it that warm fall flavor that I love. That's why I've used it for my applesauce. The organic raw cane sugar has had minimal processing to it, and they've only cooked it down just so that it's safe enough to eat. So it's up to you, depending on your taste. So after these have been cooked down, I want to say for about 2 to 3 hours, depending on what level you put your crock pot on. And here is what it will look like after a few hours. You're going to have your apple slices still intact, but you can tell that they're easily broken down just by applying a little bit of pressure to it. That's the texture that you want. So as your apples are cooking in the crock pot, you want them to be fork tender. That basically means that you stab a fork into one of the apples and twist it, and if it easily breaks apart, then that's perfect. So next, I will start putting all my apples into the food processor. You want to put a lot of apples in here. Fill up your food mill about halfway. Because those apples kind of work together to apply the perfect amount of pressure, that as you crank that arm, it's going to apply pressure and push the apples through the little slots at the bottom. I'll add one more just to be safe. So as I'm turning this, I'll talk a little bit about the benefits of apples. So apples are full of healthy bacteria. That old adage that you hear, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. It's kind of true. They are full of tons of probiotics. Those are those good bacteria that's in your body that fight away the bad bacteria. We get all the bad bacteria in our environment, and it causes us to be sick. And then our body, hopefully that's full of good bacteria, will fight those away. Apples are full of those, and that'll help your body do that. You'll notice I'm every once in a while changing direction. You'll want to do that as the apples kind of get flattened, and then you want to change the direction. Also, apples are full of fiber. We talked about the sugars that are naturally in apples anyway. The fiber helps your body to hold on to food a little bit longer. And that's good because you typically think of, oh, we get all of our nutrients from our food in our stomachs, but that's not necessarily true. Your stomach is just the place where your body breaks down your food so that your intestines can then do their job and extract all the nutrients from your food. So the longer that your food is in your intestines, the better, because it has more of an opportunity to get all that good nutrients out of there. So like I said, with the naturally occurring sugars that are in apples, that's the good sugar that your body really wants. Sugar is basically another word for a carbohydrate. That's the energy that our bodies need to live and move and have our being. So, and for all of our organs to be working properly, we need sugar, we need carbohydrates. And those naturally occurring sugars, not like the sugars that we find in refined sugar, in our refined sugars, but in our fruits and vegetables, that is the kind of sugar that your body was meant to have and burn off. It's a fast energy source. If you need to pick me up throughout the day, you're not needing to grab a candy bar. You can have this good sweet apple. So I'll show you as I'm working through this and pushing the apple through there. You'll see on the bottom here, it's coming out with a perfectly textured applesauce. It kind of pushes them through these little slots on the bottom, and that's what gives applesauce, where you feel that grit in there. That makes it a really nice bite. So I'll show you a close-up here of what the applesauce looks like. You'll notice there's a lot of water in there too, and that's fine. That is either being extracted from the apple or from the water that we had put in there earlier. So you kind of want to mix that up and mix those things together. Again, you can add cinnamon to this if you want, or any other of the, your traditional apple pie spices to make it more fall. Your house is going to smell amazing when you're cooking these down for hours. It smells like wonderful fall. This is really easy to store in your refrigerator. Just get a mason jar or ball jar, a glass jar, and keep it in your refrigerator for up to a week. If you do want to throw some lemon in there, that might keep it fresher for longer. But it's just a great snack. You can heat it up. It makes it so warm and cozy like it's fall, and it'll be the perfect snack. You can have it on the side to breakfast, lunch, or dinner. or throughout the day anytime you need to pick me up. So any way you slice it, dice it, or peel it, a plant-based diet is complete with all the nutrients that you need for a healthy life. This is Crystal Clean Eating. I'm your host, Crystal Beaulieu, and we'll see you next time where I'll talk about pumpkins and all their awesome benefits, and I'll show you how to make pumpkin seeds. So we'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.